Feeling good, feeling great. Feeling great, feeling good. How are you? Welcome into Timeline T. I am your host, the Sam D, aka Sam Ray Jr. Oh, it's turn up time. NBA playoffs again, hot and heavy. If you're joining in, you're tapping in, you clicked on that title. Yep, JJ Redick in position to skip the line to potentially become the head coach of an NBA team. Much like Steve Nash, Jeff Hornacek, didn't earn his keep, but we'll talk about it. Has he hot-taked his way into a real gig? We'll talk about it. Celtics Sixers last night. It's time for that Jason Tatum conversation. Tried to sneak it in yesterday, talking about how Jaylen Brown needs more shots. Jaylen Brown got his, still feel like he could do more. It might be the beginning of the end of the whole Tatum and Brown thing. NFL Top 100. It's a list. People get crazy about it. Our man's Doe, who'll be, giving us a lot of information, a lot of tea from the timeline. And then I'll take it from there and bring it to y'all here. He put out some couple of samples of top 20 lists that could potentially make up part of the top 100. Very interesting. Very interesting. So we'll get there. Oh, and there's 2 playoff games tonight. 2 series could be over tonight. 2 teams can make the conference finals tonight as the Heat look to take out the Knicks in 5 at the Mecca. Not that far from where I'm at right now. And the Lake Show could put their foot on the neck of the reigning defending champion Golden State Warriors. We preview here. We will do that tonight. All right. We'll start, though, with your man's JJ Redick. Oh, there's a lot there to talk about. It's not necessarily the most important story, but I feel like just because of what it could potentially represent, it's something to focus on, so we'll start there. Let's go ahead and jump into the screen. JJ Redick reportedly interviewed for one NBA head coaching job. That one NBA head coaching job is the Toronto Raptors. Toronto Raptors, who dismissed Nick Nurse. Masai Ujiri is still running things up there in the 6. And now we have the 38-year-old JJ Redick, who has hot-taked his way to not just being the guy on the floor of the network giving off hot takes, but now potentially could be a guy that could be in charge of the future of Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, and whoever else, Fred VanVleet, assuming he's still there, and the rest of the Toronto Raptors. So this could be interesting because we have seen Jason Kidd, Steve Nash, Jeff Hornacek. We've seen a lot of guys go from hooping, and then next thing you know, they're on the sidelines. We've seen a lot of guys go into broadcasting, mostly as an analyst, color commentator, studio analyst, and then boom, they go and become a coach on the sideline again. I'm having a hard time trying to remember someone who is more in the hot take space that has been able to hot take their way into a gig at this level. So this is why it stands out to me because, Jason Kidd, point guard, had the acumen. When we're talking about Jeff Hornacek, he was a guy that was beloved by, who was it? Phoenix. I believe he was in the front office there, and then, the Knicks were the Knicks, and then they just went out there and jumped out the window. We've had a lot of coaches we have a lot of point guards turn coaches. Shooting guards, though, just straight up shooters, that's a new one for me. So that's why this one, again, stands out to me. But again, he was only interviewed in the first round of interviews. No real word on whether or not he's going to be in the second round of interviews. But just an interesting story because is this now going to be the new lane? Just hot taking. He had a lot to say about, Joel Embiid and, Nikola Jokic in the MVP debate. He's been, at times pushing back against old head type rhetoric on the four-letter network, but can that translate into being an NBA coach? Can being a player whose main role was just to be a shooter, now he's no Tim Legler. Like Tim Legler is a bona fide analyst. If I were to try to go after someone who is in that analyst space to try to see if they want to convert to a NBA head coach, it would be Tim Legler. It would not be JJ Redick. But JJ Redick has gone viral more. He's younger. He's more known to this current generation of players. So it bears in mind that that could be something that could put him over someone who I feel is way more qualified, not only in the analyst space, but I think in just the basketball IQ space, in Tim Legler. But I think that's a story that we're going to have to keep an eye on, because I think that could be a trend where people are trying to get hot takes off and trying to channel those hot takes into real gigs in these leagues. It's kind of like, you become a hacker and then all of a sudden you start working for tech companies because you can show them how they get hacked. So now if you're an analyst and you're, talking your talk and breaking things down with a telestrator on the four-letter network, and you're dissecting plays and giving out tendencies and so on and so forth, you can then take that knowledge to the NBA level as a coach. But head coach is another thing. You could take that to that level in terms of an assistant, a scout, someone in the front office. But actually being the coach is a different thing. From hot taking to coaching, I think is too big of a jump. Again, unless you have the pedigree of a Tim Legler. Tim Legler is different to me. I think Tim Legler can get that off. He's been in many different positions throughout media, throughout the analyzing space. I think he can transition into that. But JJ Redick, who was hooping over in Barclays not that long ago, now is going to walk into a potentially, we won't go crazy, potentially could walk into a gig, as a head coach with the Toronto Raptors. We'll see how that goes. We'll keep track of that. But ultimately, what we're here to do. Dynasties could be broken up. The two teams that were in the NBA Finals last year, if we listen to another hot taker, we go from one hot taker in JJ Redick to another one in Colin Cowherd. He's out jumping out the window saying that the Warriors should trade Jordan Poole for Jaylen Brown. And this is how that package would work according to him. Now, again, he's not saying this is something that's close. He's not saying this is something that will happen. He's just throwing it out here that, to alleviate the issues that he feels are becoming of these two teams, this trade could alleviate it, where you're trading. It's such a bad trade. But anyway, the Warriors will receive Jaylen Brown and Malcolm Brogdon. The Celtics will receive Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins. Now, here's where the problems start. If I am the Celtics, why would I trade away the two best players in this deal? Why? Why would I do that? I may have to do like a quick little YouTube short on this because it's so silly. Why would I give up the two best players in this deal, which is Jaylen Brown and Malcolm Brogdon, for Jordan Poole, who is shaking a light, is a defensive liability, is not even good right now at the one thing he's supposed to be good at? We got the information of him dropping $500,000 on Ice Spice. It's looking sad out here for Jordan Poole over the last 2 weeks. It's been sad out here for him. And then A. Wiggins is a good player. He could be a piece. He won't need the rock as much as Jaylen Brown to do what he does best. So that, to me, isn't a problem. But it's the fact that you have to throw in, Malcolm Brogdon to get that done. Like, if I'm the Warriors and I could get Jaylen Brown, if I'm the Warriors, I'd do this deal in a heartbeat. If I'm the Celtics, I don't know why in hell I would do this deal when I could go to the Hawks and potentially get better players. Like, if you're going to go to the Warriors, how are you only getting at Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins? I'll take one of them, and then I better get at least two of them 3 or 4 youngins they got over there. Whether it's Kuminga, Moody, Baldwin, and who's the other one I keep forgetting? They got another one over there that I keep forgetting. But they got 4 youngins over there that, to me, give me 2 of those and Andrew Wiggins, and I'm more inclined to do a deal like this. But just off the strength of this, no chance in hell would I ever do this deal. But it's that type of season because these two teams with the information, with the games we had last night and potentially could have tonight, these two teams could be looking to rebuild. The Celtics and the Warriors, who were just in the finals last year, just a year later in this upcoming summer, could be looking to tear it all down. And not tear it all down to the studs, but in terms of rebuilding on the fly. If you're breaking up Tatum and Brown, you're rebuilding on the fly. If you're getting Wiggins out of there and Jordan Poole, who you just gave 100 M's to, then you're rebuilding on the fly. And we know the habitual nut-hitter Draymond Green might not even be there next year, so it looks like it could be a thing with the Warriors. Like the Warriors could look very different next year. Very, very different. And we know, in regards to, Klay Thompson has had a rough playoffs in a rough couple of years as he's been battling back from injuries and trying to get himself right. And Steve Kerr spoke on it. Steve Kerr spoke on it in regards to he's likely going to live. He's going to live with Klay Thompson taking bad shots. And the quote is, Thompson's going to take some bad shots, and so is Steph. And that's okay. Ideally, one guy is taking good shots every time down the floor. But when Klay had 38 in Oklahoma City in Game 6, a lot of those were really bad shots, and he made them. That's the only reason why we won. Now, that game he's mentioning is a game that was how many years ago? That Klay game against OKC. Let's see. How long ago was that? The fact that he has to dig that far back to bring up a game where Klay took a bunch of bad shots and made them, that's kind of crazy. Because that's where the legend was born. Game 6 Klay. Let's see. That was what year? 2016. 2016 Western Conference Finals. That's how far back Steve Kerr had to go back and find a game where Klay Thompson went crazy and the shots were bad, but he didn't mind them. So that's 7 years ago. That's multiple, surgeries, age, atrophy, everything else. And yet here we go with, Steve Kerr out here shooting bail to a guy that clearly is on the decline. And I believe Klay, if he's not a free agent this year, it's next year. But Klay's a guy you'll also have to wonder, how much longer are we going to do this Klay thing? Like, how much longer are the Warriors going to do this Klay thing? We know Steph is a lifetime contract, not just at Under Armour, but with the Warriors, right? He ain't going nowhere. But in regards to Klay Thompson, if you're going to move on, which is likely, if you're going to move on from the habitual nut-hitter Draymond Green, why wouldn't you additionally move on from Klay Thompson? This is something that, at this point, when his own head coach has to reference a game from 7 years ago to talk about a time when he took bad shots but made them, then that should tell you it hasn't really been all good for Klay Thompson. And we'll go here to the stats and look this up. But, Klay, especially in this Lakers series, has just not been good. Not been good at all. I won't put it all on him. I think the Lakers are just better, and that's why I predicted the Lakers in this series, and they can finish this thing out tonight. But if we look at Klay in his averages here, y'all can see everything, right? Yep. Okay. I mean, this is a guy who's giving you 20 points a game for your guy that's supposed to be the number 2 option. And, he's shooting 44%. So if you just look at the box score, his numbers look fine. Not a problem. He's taking more threes than Steph. The issue is that all the other intangibles that made Klay, they have fallen off a cliff. If we want to look at the defense, let's see if we can find defensive rating. Yeah, look at Klay Thompson's defensive rating here. A 116 defensive rating. When Steph Curry has a better defensive rating for you, that should tell you everything you need to know. Klay Thompson is just not the defender he used to be. He used to be one of the best two-way players in the world. Like that 2016 Klay, like the one that Steve Kerr mentioned, that Game 6 Klay, that Klay was a dominant two-way player because he was a bombs-away shooter that didn't need the ball. That was a special specimen. A guy that can get his shot off just curls and pin downs. You don't have to do nothing for him. You barely have to run any offense for him. He's getting off he's getting shots off on the screens, off ball action. There's no ISO. You don't need to clear it out for Klay. That's the worst thing you're going to do for Klay. But the fact that a guy that was a really strong defensive player, I believe he was never a defensive player of the year, but he's made some all-defensive teams, right? Let's see. Yeah. Wow, only once? Wow, he only made one all defensive team. That is interesting. But regards to a 116 defensive rating, you can't have that. Not when Steph has a better one. And the Lakers have been hunting Steph Curry. So a team that is taking clear advantage of Steph Curry, and yet somehow Steph Curry still has a better defensive rating in this series than Klay Thompson. And by the way, habitual nut hitter, 109. The best defender of the guys that are getting major run. So even though we can call him triple single and all of that, and he's justified for that, and we could call him habitual nut hitter, and we're justified in that, he's doing his job in terms of he's playing the defense necessary to keep this team in the game. But the guys who are also known for defense, Glove Jr., 119, A. Wiggins, 115. Yeah, Glove Jr. and A. Wiggins at 115, and then you have Klay Thompson at 116. It's problematic as hell. Absolutely problematic as hell. And that's why Steve Kerr has to come out here and defend his mans like this. Gonna live with Klay Thompson taking bad shots. But when Klay had 38 in Oklahoma City in Game 6, a lot of those were really bad shots. That's 7 years ago, Steve. That Klay ain't around no more, bruh. That's not the Klay you got right now. He may give you flashes of that guy, but you don't have that guy no more. Long gone, bruh. And so we might as well stick on that and get into this series. Is this series over tonight? Lakers, Warriors. Do the Lakers take care of business? Let me just clean these glasses. These glasses are dirty, boy. Do the Lake Show take care of business, or do they play with their food? Do they play with their food and allow the Warriors to live another day? Because again, if you're the Lake Show, it's all about getting AD and Bron rest. AD and Bron need as much rest as they can to get through this. Okay, so if they need to put their foot on the Warriors' neck, it needs to happen tonight. Allow them, because we know the other series is going 6. Nuggets and Suns is going 6 at a minimum. If they can take care of business tonight, that would be beneficial, because we know Bron is basically on 1 foot, and AD, you want to limit the chances of him and his body falling down and going boom. So you want to do that as much as possible. And, you know, I don't want to put nothing on it in regards to guaranteeing anything, but I think the Warriors come out, and obviously they're going to play tough, but I also think there might be another change in that lineup. We've had lineup changes in the last 2 games. One worked really well with JaMychal Green, last 3 games, excuse me. One worked with JaMychal Green in Game 2. It helped them get their lone victory. The Lakers made an adjustment in Game 3, not necessarily in a lineup, but in coverages, and they eliminated JaMychal Green. So then Steve Kerr then had to dust off Glove Jr., take out JaMychal Green, put in Glove Jr. And it worked, especially because Glove Jr. was able to get some buckets. He was very efficient, but ultimately his size was a problem, and the Lake Show took advantage of that. So it really goes to show that the Warriors just don't have the horses, or they don't believe in the horses. I know Kerr has been very adamant against not playing these youngins. And, you know, Moody has played a little bit. Kuminga has only played in 2 games. Baldwin Jr. only in 1 game, and that was mop-up duty. And the other, I keep forgetting that other rook's name. Let's find him so I can just get that off my head. Ryan Rollins, yes, that's who it was. Ryan Rollins hasn't even sniffed any action. And, you know, the impact of Looney, I feel, was overstated. But at least he was a guy that could give you 20 boards and at least can present somewhat of a size problem. But whether it's through injury or just ineffectiveness, he has not really been a part of this series that much. It's been off the bench. They have made a commitment to going small, and Kerr is riding and potentially, after tonight, dying with it. And it just goes to show they just don't have it. At some point, though, this roster is going to have a lot of turnover. This Warrior thing can't keep existing in its current form. Habitual nut hitter Draymond Green has to go. You know, I don't know if I do this Cal and Cowherd trade, where you're trading Jordan Poole and A. Wiggins, and somehow you magically end up with Jaylen Brown and Malcolm Brogdon. But to that effect, I would be trying to offload Jordan Poole. It's 100 M's. It's a fat contract. You're going to have to really sucker someone to do it. Maybe that's why you throw in A. Wiggins, although that wouldn't sweeten the pot enough for me to do it. But this roster has to have some upheaval, because how long are you going to wait for Kuminga, Moody, Baldwin Jr., and Ryan Rollins to sit on that bench? You already had to move on from James Wiseman because you weren't able to give him enough time, and he was a bad fit, and you should have never took him in the first place when you could have had LaMelo. Right? So they already had to move on from one of their draft picks that they were able to luck into. Now they got a whole bunch more. They got 4 more dudes sitting on that bench that aren't getting any real run. They need playing time. Because what are they going to do when their contracts are up? These are just trade chips at this point. Baldwin Jr., who can go. He can go. He's a trade chip. Kuminga, he seems to be on the outs with Steve Kerr. I wouldn't be surprised if you package Jordan Poole, Kuminga, and throw in, well, see, that's a lot of money coming back. You're going to need a lot of money coming back. But let's say, now, if you do this Colin Cowherd deal, if you're telling me it's Poole, Wiggins, Kuminga, and either Baldwin, Moody, or Rollins, I might listen more. But if you're telling me it's just 2 for 2 straight up, there's no way in hell if I'm the Celtics I do this deal. And again, he's not saying this is a deal that's on the table or anything. He's just throwing shit out there. But this is going to be that time of the year soon, because this Warrior thing is a wrap. If it's not tonight, it'll be over in 6. Is this the death of a dynasty? Klay Thompson, does he come back? Because let me see, what's his contract? Oh, Basketball Reference is always bad with contracts. Let me just make sure. Oh, no, here we go. Does it say how much? Oh, he's got 2 years left. So next year is his last year. 43 mil. Good Lord. All right, so you're entering the last year of Klay Thompson's deal. Habitual nut hitter is a free agent. Like, it's starting to tear it all down season, bruh. It's the tear it all down season. 1 more year of Klay. You ride that out. I think you let the habitual nut hitter Draymond Green walk. I also feel as though at this point, I've seen enough of Jordan Poole. He ain't it. Even if you get rid of Klay and assume he could come in and play with Steph, I don't like that either, because he's too much of a defensive liability. So there's not much you could do there unless you go a 3-guard lineup. Unless you go 3 guards. And you're going to have Glove Jr. and Jordan Poole in your starting lineup next year, which would really be nasty. I don't think Steve Kerr would want to coach that. As much as he loves coaching Steph, I wouldn't want to coach that. So you're going to have to make significant changes. They're going to need a 2-guard. I don't think Kuminga's that. Moody could be that, but they got to trust him to put him out there. Baldwin Jr.'s got handle. He could be that hybrid guy. That could be a wing that can play the 2. He'd be a big 2, pause. But, like, that's, he could do that. He can go. Find a way to get a guy like Patrick Baldwin Jr. on the floor. Death of a dynasty. I think the Lakers take care of business tonight because I think they know they need to rest. LeBron and that foot are bad. He is in a bad way. Really, really bad way. And we might also jump over to the game from last night, Nuggets and Suns. And this is a game where both home teams have won every game, right? So in theory, if you believe in tropes, this series hasn't begun yet because every game has been won by the home team. But there's a trend when the Nuggets win. And it's not just home cooking. There is a trend when the Nuggets win. And again, we know what Book and KD can do. And they weren't as great as they were in games 3 and 4 in Phoenix, but I wouldn't call this a bad game. I mean, KD not hitting a 3 is probably a rarity, but he hit the glass. He had some dimes. Book was good. He wasn't great. He was good. Like, there's going to become a level where we're looking at D Book where 25 to 28 is not great for him. It's just good. I mean, I've been there. I've been at that level when it comes to D-Book, but now the casuals are catching up. But the problem is that there was nobody else. There was no magical Landry Shamet performance like in Game 4. Jock Landale, his presence was minimized on the road as opposed to at home. They kept DeAndre Ayton out there, and he's just not him, dogs. Campaign, he didn't really give you that much. Okogie is just out there just to start the game. He doesn't really matter later in the game, which is a very weird rotation for Monty. But, you're looking at someone like T. Ross. He's supposed to be a guy that could be a bucket. TJ Warren's supposed to be a guy that could be a bucket. And it really just comes down to they don't really have enough scoring punch. Role players play better at home. And if we go on by this math, the Nuggets are going to win this series in 7. You would like to think they could get one in Phoenix, and we'll see if they can in Game 6 and really close this out. But if we're to follow the trend, one of these role players is going to flash for the Suns in Game 6 to force a Game 7. Because KD and Book are going to do what they do. KD and Book are going to do what they do. But the thing that we need to pay attention to is the Nuggets. And with the Nuggets, it comes down to one question. Is Michael Porter Jr. a role player? He's not supposed to be one, but is he a role player? Because when Michael Porter Jr. plays well, you can't beat this Nugget team. At least not the Suns can't. In the 3 wins, which have been all 3 at home, Michael Porter Jr. has played well. Now, he's been okay. I think he was okay in Game 3 in Phoenix, but he was bad in Game 4. Invisible in Game 4. So, is Michael Porter Jr., who has all the skills in the world, all the talent in the world, is he just a role player? Because that's going to be something to worry about and focus on. Damn, this Herman Mueller chair is getting squeaky. Okay. That's going to be something to pay attention to because Michael Porter Jr. has to be a bucket for this team to do anything past this series. Assuming the Nuggets take care of this, whether it's in 6 or 7, whether or not the point fraud comes back, they're going to need him whoever they face, most likely the Lakers. Jokic is going to do work against the Lakers. He's going to have to work for it, but he's going to get his numbers. And Jamal Murray, that's going to be the interesting one because I think the Lake Show can have a bunch of defenders who can make it hard for Jamal Murray. Pause. But Michael Porter Jr. is that wild card, and they will have home court against the Lakers. And again, if we go by that math of Michael Porter Jr. plays well at home, they'll have 4 games at home. If they can hold court, they'll beat the Lake Show in 7, but that's also asking a lot. And then you have guys like Bruce Brown who flashes. And he's a free agent, so he needs to get shots up. He was uber aggressive last night. 25 points in 26 minutes. That's impressive. So, there's going to be a thing of trying to keep track of what the hell is going to go on when teams are at home versus on the road. So we'll keep an eye on that. All right, let's go ahead and slide over. Celtics and the Sixers. What a bad game for the Celtics. And this is why you have people out here proposing trades of Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown most likely is going to be an Atlanta Hawk, but we'll wait and see on that. But rewatching that game this morning, the Beard 17 points didn't seem like much if you just stare at this box score. But it felt like this was not just 17, but it felt like a 37. This was vintage James Harden. And not vintage Houston James Harden. This was like vintage Brooklyn James Harden, which was not a bad James Harden. Because he had to facilitate to 2 guys. He had to facilitate to Kyrie and get him a position. Because remember, that was a beef. Well, not really a beef, but it was a thing trying to figure out, well, who's the point? We both could run point. Who's the point? And it came down to Harden's the point. I'm going to feed Kyrie. and I got to feed KD. Well, now he's in a similar position to where I got to make sure I feed the MVP of the league in Embiid. And now Tyrese Maxey is becoming a thing. Now, he's been a thing in the regular season, and he's flashed a little bit over the last couple of postseasons, but this Maxey is the real deal. This Maxey is a guy that can go off. A 30-piece on the road, 6 of 12 from 3, and some of them were screens. I think one was in transition. Like, he was really just putting them up. And there's been a lot of talk that Maxey's a baby Harden. I've laughed at that nickname, and I still laugh at it, but I see what they're saying. I'm still not rolling, but I see what they're saying. And when you got two guys putting up a 30-piece, and then you have Harden damn near getting a triple-double, yeah, you're going to blow out a team like the Sixers. Like you're going to blow out a team like the Celtics. Because if we go to the Celtics, it's a reoccurring problem. Get my magnifying glass up. 27 shots for Jason Tatum, 16 for Jaylen Brown. The problem is staring you right in the face. And again, Jaylen Brown shoots more efficient. He shot better from 3. All the metrics point to Jaylen Brown is a more effective shooter. Yet every game I come in here and I show y'all how Jason Tatum is taking way more shots than him. Someone explain it to me. But it's not making sense to me. And that goes into the point guard issue. Because, Marcus Smart thinks he's a point guard. But, he started off the game chucking up threes. And he's always trying to force the action on the fast break. And I just don't see it. He's just not a point guard. He's not. The guy that took the most shots also had the most assists. Can't have that. That's not normally how that works. And again, Malcolm Brogdon, I would love to know if it's a physical problem why he can't start. Mazzulla, I don't know if the Boston media has been peppering him. They've been roasting him for timeouts and other parts of the rotation. But I would love to know how a guy that's playing 25 minutes at the point guard position has the same amount as the guy that is starting point guard that played 33 minutes. Something ain't right there in Boston. I think it's the point guard position. I think it begins and ends in the point guard position because you can't have Tatum taking way more shots than the number 2 guy and shooting at a worse percentage from everywhere. 3 of 11 at home. 3 of 11 at home. And the problem is, look at the shot attempts. And this is not an anomaly. This has been happening throughout, where he's taken way more shots than Jaylen Brown. But if you had a point guard, this probably doesn't happen. If you have a real point guard, a facilitating point guard, not a guy in Marcus Smart who is disguised as a point guard, this would not happen. A real point guard, like you saw with James Harden, who's able to make sure that, all right, I got to feed 2 guys now. Maxey has reached that level where I got to feed him. Look at the shots. 21 for Maxey, 23 for Embiid. You know who does that? A point guard who gets 10 assists. He knows how to feed the guys and get shots evenly distributed, or at least as close to it as possible. This is a team that has a point guard. Maxey, Harden, Embiid. 21 shots for Maxey, 23 for Embiid. And here's a team that clearly does not have a point guard. Tatum and Brown, and we'll throw in Marcus Smart. 27 shots for Tatum, 16 for Jaylen Brown. And for the assist, 5 for Tatum, 4 for Marcus Smart. That's a team that does not have a point guard. I know for some people, the dynamic of a point guard doesn't really register because in this era, there's not too many facilitating point guards. It's gone by the way of go get you a bootleg Steph. Or get you a Russell Westbrook. Those are the types of point guards that are being, magnified and publicized today. But there's a reason a point guard exists. And there's a reason why, whether they have to be, 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", or they could be the beard 6'5", somebody has to be in charge of evenly distributing the rock to whoever the main guys are. The Celtics, I believe, have that, but he's too busy making love on his bench in Malcolm Brogdon. At some point, whether it was Ime Udoka last year, Joe Mazzulla this year, I don't know what needs to happen, but a point guard needs to be discovered and unearthed and inserted into this Celtics starting lineup. Until then, it's going to be Tatum doing his best Kobe Mamba mentality rendition, and that can get to the Celtics to the finals, or it could get them eliminated by a hindered Joel Embiid and Philadelphia 76ers in the second round. Live by Tatum, you can die by Tatum. Because let's go to the shot chart. Gotta know how we do it here. Let's hit the shot chart and see how this looked. I'm afraid to look at the Tatum shot chart. I can tell you now. But low-key, that's a lot of bricks for Philly. That's a lot of red, bruh. Anyway, we're focusing on the Celtics. Ooh, even more red. Goddamn. All right. You ready? Jason Tatum, you ready? Woo. It's a lot of red. Can't even get all the reds in the screen. All right. Let's see. Let's get the telestrator out. All right. Missed a lot of bunnies. We can see that. It's a lot of middies, tough fades in the paint. A lot of them, right? And also way too many threes. You're not Kobe. You might have been tight with Kobe, and that's cool, but you're shooting way too many threes, bruh. You're at the crib. Like, way too many threes. Just too many. It's maddening to me because this wasn't in the flow of the offense. This three was not in the flow of the offense. This three was not, there's no play design drawn up for you to take a three that far out, right? All of these, probably stagger screens, dribble handoff, somebody dragged on the pick and roll coverage, somebody dropped. Like, these threes are too much. We know how pivotal game fives are. You're trying to steal back home court, and you're just chucking it away, three after three after three, because there's no one on that team, allegedly, in that starting lineup in a way, that can go in the court and say, give up the rock. Let me set it up. Problematic as hell, if you tell me. If you ask me, problematic as hell. And let's go for Jaylen Brown. Let's see what his shot chart was. A lot of work from the left side. A lot of work from the left side for Jaylen Brown. This is just bad, man. Marcus Smart, Malcolm Brogdon. See where all his shots were. Middies. Middies and in the paint. He knows his game. He knows his role. I wish Tatum would learn his. Meanwhile, James Harden only took 8 shots because he's too busy facilitating. And you see where the shots were. Middies, in the paint, and only a couple threes. A guy like James Harden only taking 2 threes? Come on, dogs. In his bag last night. In his point guard bag. So, I don't know what's going to happen with that, but ultimately, I like how the Sixers are playing. Sixers look like it's going to be Sixers Heat. We'll find out because tonight the Heat are going to take on the Knicks in Game 5. It is at the Mecca. The Knicks are hoping for one last gasp to at least make this series look competitive, even though it hasn't really been competitive. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. I think Miami takes care of business. Because again, they got to rest Jimmy. So he's a guy that has reached that territory where we need to end this series as quickly as possible so Jimmy could get some rest. Because if it's Jimmy against the Sixers, y'all know how crazy that series is going to be. Tobias Harris over me for the right to go to the NBA Finals. That could be a real thing. But if you take a look at this series, besides the fact that the Knicks can't score 100 points, to me, there's going to be a thing of, I love that people are discovering that Julius Randle is a black hole. Whereas if you watch basketball and watch the Knicks, you would have already known that. but now it's being publicized that Julius Randle is a black hole. And the problem is you can't have two guys who are black holes on the same team. Because Jalen Brunson likes his shot too. And this is Tom Thibodeau's offense. And Tom Thibodeau, his offense is very much predicated on ISO ball. Give the ball to the best player, preferably a guard or a wing, and let them go. Let them cook. He's done it with Derrick Rose. He did it with Luol Deng. He did it with Jimmy Butler. He tried to do it in Minnesota with Karl Anthony Towns and Jimmy Butler, but it didn't work. So now he's gone to New York, and he's done it through Julius Randle, and now he has to deal with doing it with Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. This is just what it is when it comes to Tom Thibodeau's offense. There is none. So I was just, here, dude, take this rock and do whatever you want with it. Because I'm just going to teach effort and defense on the other end. But I think the Knicks take their medicine tonight, even at the crib. I think Jimmy Butler wants to, the last time he was in that building, he missed game 2. That's the only time the Knicks have beaten the Heat in this series. So I think Jimmy wants to make sure he puts the Knicks out of their misery, and especially on their home floor, because Jimmy relishes being the villain. Much like Trae Young, much like Reggie Miller, much like, Kobe at times, like Jordan, especially like some of these guys, they relish being the villain. And I think we're going to get that from Jimmy Butler tonight. So I look for a big game from Jimmy. Bam should be able to cook. He's been playing great defense on Julius. I don't see why that wouldn't continue tonight. I think the Miami Heat take care of business and put the New York Knickerbockers out of their misery. So I think both series that could end tonight will indeed end tonight. Lakers win, Heat win, because those teams know it's imperative that their stars get rest. Okay, where are we at now? We're about 40 minutes in. Okay, let's see. Where do we want to go from here? Let me come off the screen for a sec. Just look this up real quick. Make sure I got the right information. Do that, and then we do that. Okay, cool. All right, yep, we are good there. Okay, so NFL players submitted their top 100 list. They do that thing. It's on NFL Network, the top 100. Lamar was number one. What was that? 2020. Off the MVP year, all that type of stuff. So we got 4 samples of player ballots for best players 1 to 20. Okay. I'm going to work backwards. No, we'll start from the beginning. We'll start from here. So this is a sample ballot. No word if this is actually Justin Jefferson's ballot, but Justin Jefferson is number 1 as top 100 players. Michael Parsons, 2. Pat Mahomes, 3. Josh Allen, 4. Let's see if there's any surprises. Trent Williams in the top 10. Saquon, top 10. That is interesting. Let's see. I don't know if I could. I guess I can move this up for y'all to see. Can y'all get all of it without me showing too much? Nope. Okay. So Nick Bosa, Deebo Samuel, Fred Warner, Stephon Diggs, Josh Jacobs. At the bottom of the list is Joe Burrow, Terry McLaurin, and Max Crosby. Okay, so Justin Jefferson, Michael Parsons, Mahomes, Allen, Tyreek Hill, right? Let's see if we can move on to the next one. Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs at number 4. Matt Judon, number 5. Chris Jones, Kelsey, Tyreek Hill, Zadarius Smith. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, top 10. Like, there's some names here that will jump out at you, right? Darius Slay, like, this definitely has to be an Eagles ballot. C.J. Gardner-Johnson in the top 10 and Darius Slay at 13 and top 100 players. Come on, bruh. Marshawn Lattimore, Alvin Kamara, Michael Parsons, Justin Fields in the top 20. T.J. Watt, Aaron Donald, Sauce Gardner. Some interesting names here, bruh. This one, Kelsey Mahomes. All right, come on. This has to be a Chief, right? Kelsey Mahomes. Aaron Donald, Jamar Chase. First time Jamar Chase's names have been mentioned. Josh Allen, Justin Jefferson. Lamar at number 7. First time he's been mentioned. Cooper Kupp. First time he's been mentioned. Michael Parsons, Matt Judon. Jason Kelsey. That's interesting. So this has to be Travis Kelsey's ballot, right? His brother's the 11th top 100 player. Like, come on, dogs. Max Crosby again, Bobby Wagner, Lane Johnson. Yeah, this is definitely an Eagle, dog. This is definitely Eagle, or this is Travis Kelce. Or this might be Jason Kelce putting his brother number 1 and Mahomes 2, and then putting himself at 11, and then putting Lane Johnson at 14. Kirk Cousins, Stephon Diggs, Joe Burrow. First time for Joe Burrow. Fred Warner. Jalen Hurts cracking the top. Yeah, this is definitely Jason Kelce's list, dog. Jalen Hurts is a top 20 player. I know y'all can't see that. Just take my word for it. The screen can't capture the whole thing. And then Tyreek Hill rounding out the top 20. And the last one of the samples that we have, Josh Allen 1, Pat Mahomes 2, Nick Bosa makes an appearance, Fred Warner at 4, Tyreek Hill at 5, the second time he's been in the top 5, Travis Kelce, Devontae Adams, George Kittle, Jalen Hurts again, Jalen Hurts top 10 on this one, Aaron Donald, Joe Burrow again, Stephon Diggs again, Justin Jefferson, Nick Chubb makes an appearance, Cooper Kupp, Derwin James, Quinnen Williams, A.J. Brown makes an appearance, John Allen? Who's John Allen? And Derrick Henry. So we know that's going to be something to keep track of as we get closer and closer. When that list comes out, it's going to be hella debates around who is one. You know, they release it in the quadrants, right? They do, by 20s. Then we get down from 20 to 1. So 5 sets of releases, right? Because 5 times 20 is 100, yeah. So that's how they do that. So I think that will be something we're definitely going to keep an eye on. Let's see if there's anything else we need to keep an eye on. Any new information breaking down before we wrap it up tonight? Shaq Mason gets a deal with the Texans, 3 years, $36 million. Chiefs have signed Lamar Jackson. Right, Lamar Jackson. Too easy, sorry. Let's see. No, that's about it for that. Ryan Tannehill, could be something breaking here. DMs are hitting. Let's see. Okay. All right, no, that's podcast related. All right, let's see where we at here. Patrick Queen and the Ravens. Nope, nothing there important. Let's see what we got. Anything NBA Central. Yeah, I've been learning to, if the stream slows down, there's nothing to really tap in about, just go ahead and tap out. This might be a day today. I got some clips I'm going to put up from yesterday's stream anyway. So we might go ahead and bow out today. Let's see. Yep, nothing really going on. Let me do one last check. I have a list here of things that I keep track of. Let's see. Nope, nothing really important. All right, we will call that. We will bid you adieu as my rim light has turned off. So yeah, no better time than the present to go ahead and bow out. I thank y'all for those who are able to tap in and those who are able to watch on the replay. If you're watching on the replay, drop that like, please. If you also would please subscribe, I would appreciate that as well. So I am the Sam D. Sam Duzme Jr. For the next edition of Timeline T, which should be tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, we'll have a lot of information. We could be talking about the death of a dynasty in regards to the Golden State Warriors. We could also be talking about Knicks tape either surviving or the Miami Heat advancing to the conference finals as the 8th seed. For all of that and more from the latest of the timeline, I am the Sam D for Timeline T. I will highlight y'all tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern. Salute.